Hey, hello, and welcome to today's live stream. Um, Let me look at one thing real quick. Looks like everything's going okay. Um, Thank you for being here. Today we're actually going to be covering something a little bit different. I thought just something a little more fun and behind the scenes with what we're doing here at Interactive Initiative. Currently in development, we are working on a number of things, kind of like these live streams, these workshops that we're doing. But right now, our primary project is an application named Tropi, um, where we're actually creating some unique um, opportunities for local artists. Let me pull up the website real quick to talk a little bit about what Tropi is. Just give me 1 second. Pull this up. Let me switch back. So, if you want to find out a little bit more about Tropi, the application, you can go to the website interactiveinitiative.org/Tropi, Tropi. Um, so basically, what Tropi is a augmented reality application for phones, where we are taking local South Florida artists, we're taking their work and digitizing it to be able to be used in some interactive way in this mobile phone application. And the cool thing about this is that we're actually highlighting specific areas around South Florida that those artists have their work. So if it's an artist focused on doing work in like Wynwood, then you would have their artwork kind of popping up in Wynwood, or if their work had to do with like um, out nature in some way. Maybe some of the local parks will have their artwork being pop up in those locations. We also have it where the artwork can be generated in by like using murals or imagery. So we have some cool stuff coming up with that you're going to be able to see. Um, but maybe one thing to highlight too, if you're not sure entirely what augmented reality actually is, what it is it's a type of technology that phones can use that basically maps out the real world using like the phone's camera, and it actually finds the depth in your environment. So it translates that depth into like math, and by using the math, what it can then do is it can put those virtual objects in the space that you occupy by looking at your camera. Um, so in this application, what you'll be able to do is be able to go out to these locations and find these different artists' work and collect them and actually have them part of your own collection. Um, so I think rather than just talking about it, sometimes I think demonstration is a little bit better than just showing what we're doing. But again, if you want to find out more, just go to our website at interactiveinitiative.org. Um, so I'm going to, let me do a real quick switch, and you're going to actually see me running it on the phone. You'll be able to see my phone screen on the stream here. So give me 1 second to switch over. Just gives me just a couple seconds. And I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I might be moving around a little bit just because of this phone. Um, I might need to step away a little bit from the mic. I'll try to talk loud enough where everybody can hear me. So let me see. Okay, so that's up. Let me switch the screens real quick. Oh, just pulled up something. Okay. So this is actually, hopefully I won't have any sensitive material on here. This is actually my personal phone. This is also what I work on and with for my application that I'm working on when I develop. Um, so let me switch over to the application. I have it here. So I click on it. Actually, let me restart this application. Disregard that. So before you really dive in, just keep in mind that what you're seeing is currently still being in development. So some stuff's missing. The artwork might not be exactly like matched one to one, or there might be some areas that just kind of have like some test objects or text in there that's not supposed to be there in the final product. But this is kind of a in progress look at how it's coming. Um, so just be aware of that while you see this. When you first boot up the application, what you're actually going to see is this. It's going to have a welcome screen. So it'll be saying hi and welcome to augmented reality in South Florida. And again, this is likely going to change. AR SoFlow, which is its old name, is an app that allows you to collect site-specific art made by a local artist. In order to use this app, a few permissions need to be enabled. Please note we do not collect or use any of your data or information. We're very key on that. We want to respect your privacy, as well as we don't like gathering data unless you want to come out and give it to us, like we have on our website where we have a survey that you can fill out if you want to. So I already enabled this, but it'll ask for permission to use your GPS so it knows where you're located in South Florida. And then also to use your camera so you actually can start using the augmented reality parts of it. So thank you. You also want to be sure that you're safe and aware of your surroundings while you're using the application. And you don't want to walk on streets or in construction or high traffic areas. Just, be safe. And most importantly, this thing really just comes down to having fun and getting to know artists that are local. So this is your menu screen that you'll be seeing. Again, some of this is placeholder, nothing's final. You can click the little lower right icon. It'll just take you to our website. It'll pull that up. So let me switch back. On the right side, you see the little play button. That's actually the main mode where you start collecting the artwork. On the left big button that you see there with the book, that is for your collection. So you can actually put your artwork that you collected in your space, or kind of create a little environment for yourself. You also have the settings that I can hit, so it'll come up and you can turn vibration off. You can even check the credits and everything. We're gonna flesh this out a bit more. We also have a tutorial section where we actually have, if you saw on our banner for this, we have these cute little characters. These characters are actually going to be the ones that teach you how to use the application. So again, this is just placeholder text. This is just them. I was testing out some stuff in terms of animation and them interacting with each other. Forgot to mention also, so this is also being developed in-house at Interactive Initiative. I'm the sole developer and designer of it, but it's also a collaboration with the local artist. So they have a say in how their work is created, or how it is showcased in the app when people collect it. Okay, so let me switch over to the actual mode where you collect everything, like your artwork, and you would go out and find it. So let's say you're out maybe in Hollywood, Florida, and please excuse the mess that I have. At home quarantine is not exactly something pretty for everybody. You'll be able to. I'm going to keep this blank for a little bit. So you'll go out somewhere, like maybe you're out on the town in Hollywood, and you decide you want to start collecting some of the artwork. So you then pull open the application, you go to this mode, and you'll get this little radar, this icon at the bottom that you're seeing spinning. It's a little bit dim in the stream, but it's a button you can press that'll kind of set out a radar thing that'll help you find different objects that are in the space. And let me turn over here. I'm going to try to talk to the mic this way. Excuse also our kitchen. You can also see our dog here. She's kind of comfortable. So you'll walk around, and as you're walking, it'll actually generate places where you can collect the artwork. So right now we're in demo mode. So this is not how it's going to be where it's just going to spawn when you're sitting down. You're actually going to need to be walking around and moving in the space. But what'll happen, it'll generate a little icon that floats in your space. So I can move around, and it's now like in my physical space. Um, and what I can do is, let me come here so you can see what I'm doing. I can actually tap the icon, and what it'll do, it'll generate somebody's artwork. So this is an art piece, part of a series from Sebastian Portuondo. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. He's a local artist. He just did this series called Exile. I recommend you check it out. What you can do then is when you see this artwork, you can start tapping it, and the more you tap it, the what'll happen is you keep tapping it, and you actually then start to you're able to collect it. See, this little thing happens, and your collection actually shows up in the form of cards. Again, this image is not going to be this weird icon that you see. It's going to be what do you call it? It's going to be the actual photo of the artwork provided by the artist, but it's going to show up as these cards that you can collect and look at. The cool thing is I can hit this like little icon on the lower left of the card, and it'll show me where I can actually collect the artwork. I can swipe and flip it to the other side. And on the bottom half, you'll see that doesn't have it here, but you'll get some text talking about the artwork. You get the artist's name at the top. You also get the name of the art piece. And then you also have these little icons there too. So you have like your web link. So if I hit that, it'll actually take me to his personal website for his art practice. I can also hit this little Instagram icon, and it'll pull up his Instagram profile. And this is going to be workable with all artists. So also, if they have like a Facebook page or some other social link like Twitter, it'll populate the card with that information. So then I collected my artwork. I can like, let's say I walk some more, I find some more icons in the space. So I have like all these things kind of floating around. So I can tap that one, and it generates this piece that's done by Laura Marsh. She makes these big like bouncy balls that she then makes with some like a custom cover that she puts on it that are pretty cool. Let's see, this one, oh, I need to fix the texture on that one. This one's made by Monica Lopez Victoria. She's a local artist also. I guess all of these are local artists. Let me see what this one generates if I tap on it. That's a piece that is done by Jen Clay. Again, this one's not entirely complete. There's some problems with it that I need to fix. But I can start collecting these. So I'll just tap on them, keep tapping on it. So, oop. And so now I have this card with Laura Marsh's artwork on it. Has the links and everything if I want to go to it. So now that's part of my collection, and I can collect these other pieces too. So then I'm gonna get Monica's art piece. But so it's pretty cool. It's nothing too complicated. It uses your GPS location to collect these artworks, so it knows where you're located and how to populate those areas with specific art pieces. So like if you're by Jen Clay's studio, then you'll only be getting artwork that is created by Jen Clay. And you won't get anybody else's, but then if you're at somebody else's studio or a space that relates to their practice in some way, then what happens is you will only get the stuff that relates to that area. What you can do too is like let's say there's some artwork that I want to share. I have here there's like a piece by Richard Verges. I can hit a little share icon on the upper right, and I can share a screenshot of whatever I want on social media. So that's pretty nice. Or I can even text an image to a friend. But let's actually go back to the main menu here. and I'm going to go to my collection. The little button in the top middle also is for, it's kind of shows you the different areas you can go to. So if you want to plan out a trip, it'll actually pull up a Google map and show you the sectioned off areas that you can go to start collecting artwork. But let me go to collection mode, let that load up, give it a little bit. So this looks just like the other mode, except I have this little like briefcase at the bottom that has like all the artwork that I've collected, and it shows them in the form of those cards that they generate as. So normally when you play this, it'll be all blanked out because you haven't collected the artwork, but you can click on the blanked ones to find out where they're located. Let me see. So if I want to, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What you can do then is with the artworks that you have collected, you can actually then click these. So I'm going to choose this one that Ben Mori did. And what you can actually do is you can start putting the artwork in your space however you want. You can like turn it by swiping. I might give the option for scaling options if I want. But what I can do is once I have it in a spot that I want, I can hit this little right button and it'll drop it in the place. So now I have a Ben Mori piece sitting there, and I can go and be like, okay, I want to also put a Sebastian piece. So I'm going to put his exile sign, and maybe turn it a little bit, put it over there. So now I have my exile piece there. I'm going to put one of his fish in the space, maybe another one of his other fish that he has. I'm going to turn it a little bit. I'm going to move it over here. Actually, I'm going to tap it again. I'm going to turn it the other way just to kind of make it look a little bit nicer. Put one of his disco balls in the space, kind of like floating around. Maybe put a Laura Marsh ball over here. And so the cool thing is you can like start filling up your space, putting the different artwork that you want. Let me see. Let me put Monica's piece over here. So I can have that now. I have this this big tiger I can also put in my space, so I can turn that. Let me put it back here. And so now I have this big scary tiger kind of like hanging out with us. But I have these are all part of my collection. Once you collect them, you can start placing them however you want. And then if I'm like want to send a picture of this to my friend, I can just hit the share icon and it'll shoot it off to like whoever I want, or I can post it up on my story if I want to. So that's pretty cool. So yeah. So the thing is, right now we're actually still implementing a lot of the artist work. Most of the back end work of like creating the GPS coordinate stuff working and the actual interface, and just like general debugging, and primarily like the backbone and brain of this entire thing, that I've been having to program. That's mostly what's been taking time. And right now we're actually filling it up with the content created by the artists. So we're kind of moving more into that phase where we're implementing the artwork more than the actual program itself. So most of the program itself is running and functional and it's doing what it needs to, but we need to like start adding more content to it. Let me show. So I can even pick up these pieces and like delete them if I want to. So if I need to clear out my space. This is a big one. This one's done by an artist named Christian Fennick. Might be a little bit hard. I need to see. I'm going to adjust this one, I think, because the scale is pretty big. It's kind of this three-dimensional space that you can walk through that you collect. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go back to the home menu here. Let me see. So I'm just trying to look and see if there's something I'm missing. So currently we're actually working with a core number of artists, and then from there, after the application is launched, we're going to be adding a bunch of different other artists that are local. We're kind of starting small and then expanding from there. Um, let me actually switch back to. Let me switch here. That's mostly what how the application runs. It's going to be a little bit cleaner, but it'll be a nice little thing. Keep in mind this is mostly grant funded, so this is not going to be something you pay for. There's no like hidden fees or anything. Once you download it, you get the whole application. The main goal of this is to expose people in South Florida as well as like people that are coming from out of town to South Florida, um, to be able to like be exposed to these artists and connect with them, as well as collect artwork and kind of have an activity for being in the space. It also gives people an incentive to go out and see the rest of South Florida, maybe in spaces they normally would not. Um, Let me switch over here. Um, so so now you guys saw primarily like how this whole thing works. Let me actually show you what I'm using to create this. If you're curious on doing something similar, and I'm thinking about doing no, is it going to load up for me? If you're curious about doing it yourself, or if you want us to do a workshop online here on how to use this, we're using this game engine called Unreal Engine. If you play a lot of video games, you've probably seen this. A lot of major companies use it, and it's used for a lot of high end like green screen filming, and pre-production and post-production. If you played Fortnite, it's what Fortnite runs on. Um, we're using this. It's an entirely free software game engine that artists can use. It has a thing called visual scripting where you can actually program visually. So it's a really good tool to use as an artist because you're not actually typing out code. You're actually connecting everything with these things that look like little flowcharts, which I'll show in a little bit here. It's a really awesome engine. You can do a lot with it, and and you can get stuff up and running in like minutes if you wanted to. Especially if you're considering doing like virtual reality, this is a great application to use, or a game engine, I should say, to create that. So let me switch to my actual game engine. So you remember seeing the artwork done by Christian Fennick. This is like his piece in the actual game engine, setting it up. Let me see. So like this was the disco ball that we were looking at. This whole interface that you see, this is the game engine itself. And I know it may look really complicated, but it all kind of just makes sense after you spend a little bit of time with it. So you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. Let me see. To give you an idea of how this works, let me pull up this thing. So like each of the objects you collect, they have their own logic and everything. This may look a little complicated, because this is a little more intensive, like what I've cooked up, but you can kind of see and get an idea of what the programming looks like. This is how the entire thing was programmed. It's like little flowcharts. Let me see if I can find something really easy. So, I think this might be a bad example for it. Let me find another one that's a little bit more easy to understand. So I have, let's see, top menu. So you can like program your own menus in here, kind of like what I showed you guys. A lot of, like most of the design work for this has been done in Illustrator. So if you see here, this is actually the main menu. This is what it looks like. You just don't see the waves on the outside. And these are buttons, and I can easily lay this out. I can put images and everything here. And then it has its own logic that is done with the visual scripting. So to kind of like give you an idea of how it works. So there's this here where it says on clicked settings. So basically when I tap on the setting button, then it does all this code stuff all this coding that you see here, which basically tells it to remove stuff from the screen, load something else, add a couple things to the screen, or play an animation. Like here, this is a pretty simple one also. If you look in the center, I think I turned off my, let me turn my mouse back on. Oop, sorry, I think it was hidden. So as you can see here, like right in this area here, if I click on the info button, it launches our website. So I just put my URL here for the website, interactiveinitiative.org. And it's literally just me getting something that says, click the button, and then connecting the click the button, launch URL or web address. And it immediately then just loads it up in the application. So something that might seem like really complicated, to somebody that's never programmed before, this engine really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you and just like takes care of it. So it's pretty awesome. And again, going back to the idea of VR, if you ever want to do artwork in VR, you can literally have a couple things that you made and throw them into the game engine itself and just hit one button and have a whole VR experience set up and running in about like 5 minutes. So it's a really, really great application, especially since it's free and all the resources out there are free as well. Let me show you another example. You can create materials for all your objects as well. Let me see. So I'm trying to find, oop, that's wrong. Sorry, I am pulling up the wrong thing. Oop, I think I pulled up the wrong one again. So you can even create some really interesting materials, which is basically like what your models are covered with, like their skin. This might actually take a little bit to load. I haven't loaded it in a while. Let me see if I can find something else. Nope, it's the same folder. So here, let me change this actually real quick to be flat. Let's just let it load for a second. So you can create, like, you can use some interesting math. This is a little bit more complicated to create materials. So like that holographic effect that I have on some of the objects, you just literally use the same type of programming, but for materials where you tell the computer how your object is supposed to look. If it wants to load up, I don't know, it's taking its sweet time. There you go. So like, see how I had that like holographic effect. Basically all this information that here that I have is telling the material to change the rainbow on like how it looks based on like how the camera of the player is looking at it. So it's like here in this area, it's figuring out the math for that, and then here it's just creating kind of like the icon, and I'm plugging it in here. You can have materials that like glow or are shiny or kind of have like a little bit of a bump to it. You can even have ones that are animated that do certain things. Let me see. I think I have like Richard Vargas's, I think, art pieces is a good example. Where did I put? I think I might have put this in. No, it's there. Let me pull up. I think this one's going to come off a little bit funny, but this is one that I'm actually getting into it right now to be working. Since Richard does a lot of animated textures or like images that he does that are animated in some way, been using the game engine to like create those animations, take the things he's created and like turn it into something that works in the game engine. So this will be something you can collect. It's not entirely running the way it's supposed to right now, but it's kind of supposed to like open and close. Let me see. I have another one here. Like this one I like. It's just like a bunch of images of things. that kind of it rotates through those different objects. It has a little like character sitting on top of it. It's kind of cute. So you can do a lot of interesting stuff with it. There's some things that I just like purely code that's not really like fun to look at. And when I say purely code, it's still that like visual scripting that I was talking about, where I get GPS coordinates so it knows where you're located. Other things too having to do with like the camera, how it works with augmented reality. And again, I know it might sound like me saying that it might be sound very like complicated, but really this like when you get the engine, it comes with templates that you can use to then like build off of. So when you get this engine, and when I started on it with this project, I actually used a template that the company Epic Games who create this engine, they made an augmented reality template that I just took and I kind of took it apart and then reconfigured it to work with what I needed it to. And within I think less than a week, I was able to get kind of the bare bones of what I needed to get working, and it was super easy. And then from there, it was kind of just me figuring out how to create systems and make all that stuff talk to each other and do what it needed to, so that we can start adding all the artwork and getting it going. Um, and there's other cool stuff too. You can even something to keep in mind if you're like a performance artist or a video artist, you can use this and bring in actual video files. So you can like if you're making a VR experience, you can have some of your videos set up in this. And the cool thing is that like it'll play the video. You can have like a playlist. Um, you can even um, you can even have um, what is it? You can have those videos play, and then you can even have interactions. So like people could like touch things. You can then spit that out to be on your computer. You can have it on a phone. You can do it on a bunch of different things. If you have like an Oculus Quest, you can easily get stuff on there pretty quickly. Um, so it's not seeing it as something that is like non-accessible. All of this is very accessible, and it just takes time to learn. But it's nothing that's going to be over any visual artist's head, because I think most artists can understand how to work visually. Um, and that's how I learned how to program, was purely through visual learning by using engines that use visual scripting. Um, I think that kind of covers all the bases. Again, if you're interested in using this, just go to unrealengine.com. You can download it. It's free. There's no commitment to it. I think the only commitment you have is if you like make over $25,000 with whatever it is that you're doing, purely from sales. So I don't think grants or any of that falls under it. This is something that you can use. Uh, I know a lot of other visual artists that use Unreal Engine to create their work. We worked with a couple of them, and it's very useful, and you can make some pretty amazing stuff. And think about it as well too. You could make something that is either an experience or a game, or not even that, and you can have it as a digital source of revenue. So you could sell it online. You could have it on your website. You could create a VR experience that then gets sold on like the Oculus Rift Store or like Steam, which are like platforms that sell digital content. Those are some pretty cool things to keep in mind. There's other game engines too that I talked about before in a previous video. If you want to find out more about the other options that are out there, just look at the workshop that I did called the Contemporary Medium. I can't even talk. The Contemporary Medium, where it is where I talk about games that artists should be playing, as well as dive into a couple of the different options if you want to start creating your own game without having to really learn too much programming. Or even if you do have to learn programming, it's accessible and easy to understand. So, with that said, beep, beep, beep. Um, Again, if you want to find out more about the application, just go to this website. Oop, I think the screens are a little funny. There you go. You can look into the infinite abyss of me. But keep in mind, we are going to be launching this application hopefully by the end of this year. From the looks of it, I think we're on track. Our dog also agrees with it. But you can follow us next week for another workshop we'll be doing. It's actually will probably be a topic that doesn't have to do with this this application, but if you want, please do send in our survey section some information on topics you'd like us to discuss. Brain's catching up. And let us know if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about, even if we haven't brought it up in previous topics. So with that said, have an awesome night, and thanks for showing up. I'm still here.